In a world where most people watch movies and then forget about them, these brave heroes join forces to watch them again and then talk about them. Join them in their epic journey as they go back in time, a decade and beyond, to revisit and break down films from a vast array of genres. Do these movies hold up over time? Are they classics? Find out on Retro Movie Roundtable. Starring your hosts, Brian Fry, Chad Robinson, Dustin Melbartis, Lizzie Haynes, and Russell Guest. Coming now to headphones in your ears.
Welcome all you lords, ladies and knights, to the Retro Movie Roundtable. Welcome to the show where we watch movies and then talk about them. I'm your host, Russell Guest, from the Steel City of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, on a nice snowy Super Bowl Sunday. Joining me today also here in Pittsburgh is my good friend and co-host, Mr. Chad Robinson. How you doing, sir?
I'm super excited to talk about a racing movie tonight.
It is not a racing movie we'll be talking tonight, but it's that is funny that you thought that when you selected this movie. But, it is your favorite time of year, Chad. It is Oscar season, right?
Absolutely. You know what? This year I'm doing really well, but it's just because they're nominating movies I've actually seen instead of vice versa.
Normally Oscar season is grumpy. We do our annual recap. Every year we do a top 10 episode of the movies from 10 years ago. And we always read off, just for context, what the Oscars picked. Not that they correlate highly to what we're selecting, but I always say, like, how many movies did you see from this Oscar class for Best Picture? And Chad's usually like 0 or 1. Like he goes out of us. He's like, I accidentally saw 2 of them. He'll tell me, or something like that.
Nominate better movies. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, now to a man who I know sees almost every movie and puts us all to shame here, we have coming to us from Dudley, England, familiar voice and friend of the show, Mr. Dan Cook. How you doing, sir?
Hi, Russell. Hi, Chad. Very good to be here again. Thank you very much for having me, as always. Very grateful. Always a big highlight for me, this is.
What is a movie that you saw that changed direction aggressively? You could say it gave you Whiplash.
Ooh.
Dan.
Wow. A movie that changed direction.
Yeah, really took me by surprise.
Sinners.
Ooh, yes. Did you go in
Sinners
blind like I did?
Not quite blind. I did know that it was a horror genre crossover, but I didn't know to what extent.
Well, I didn't know it was a horror movie either. No wonder Chad's been going around recommending it for a year.
It's a movie where there are certain people that are going to just adamantly say it's not horror. I think there's enough overlap for the common audience that, yeah, it has horror elements, but it's not scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Now, how about you, Chad? What's a movie that changed directions on you so fast that it may have given you whiplash?
Very similar concept, but I went into the movie From Dusk Till Dawn completely blind, and that's the best way to see that movie. It's fantastic. Another one that I went into blind that changes direction. Highly recommended. If I make it to this podcast by 2028, and please God, let me do something else by 2028. One Cut of the Dead is going to be eligible, and that is one that is incredible. It's confusing and just huge tonal and directional shift, and it goes from good to great.
Okay. Our catalog is getting to be larger and larger as we approach. We almost have enough episodes now that you can listen to Retro Movie Roundtable every day of the year. Now we're getting close to that 365 mark. It's getting there. But I was looking back through our own catalog at some moments of what things we've covered that gave me a big change in direction. And 2 really jumped out at me. One was The Third Man, and the other was Laura. Both of them are older movies. They're both phenomenal. I don't want to spoil anything for you other than to tell you they're both really good movies, and I highly recommend them. And they have some changes of directions in them. And Chad doesn't like at least one of those movies. He was hard on The Third Man, but
I didn't like either of them.
Oh, you didn't like Laura either? Okay,
No.
well then I'm sorry that
The Third Man was ruined because my brain just goes into guessing mode, and I guessed correctly. I was like, oh, that's no fun.
I don't try to figure movies out. I just take it as it comes. I do not like to sit there on a mystery or like or something that's got supernatural play or science fiction. I try to live in the moment and not have it ruined for me. There have been times like where like The Sixth Sense was ruined for me. Like my mom figured it out ahead of time and announced it to the whole room very early in the movie, to the point where there were times she's just like, and she didn't mean to do it either. She just kind of announced it and like, she's like, oh yeah, he's dead, right? I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, for my mom, somebody who comes into movies 10 minutes late, like there's nobody's business. Like she just nailed its number right away. And I gotta say that really takes the wind out of that movie. I did not get the experience everybody else did. I feel robbed. So
I have thought of another, possibly the best film to completely swap directions midthrough. It's a Japanese horror film from 1999 called Audition, which begins like a romantic comedy and then goes completely haywire.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That movie got
to that instead of Sinners, actually. Yeah.
I really liked 80% of that movie. It got a little too grisly for me at the end, but like, it is a good movie though. I like your choice there.
Kitty.
Yep.
All right.
I love that movie. I forced that on the podcast, and nobody had seen it. There was a lot of, dude, what is wrong with you?
You and Dustin were strangely had a excited energy on that episode that I found a little concerning. I was like, like the Unabomber had to be like, I think my brother's kind of crazy. Like, and I just kind of filed it in my like catalog. I'm just sitting there going like, I'm not going to turn you in or anything, Chad, but if it ever happens that you just start cutting people's limbs off and kind of go over the edge like your neighbor that you're always in a constant feud with, I'm not going to be surprised either after that episode. So
there was definitely some like scarousal. Is that how you would do the portmanteau of that? Like Dustin is watching and he goes, I know it's wrong, but I found that outfit really hot while she's sawing his legs off.
Oh, those two things don't go together so well for me. I don't like that. Those are conflicting emotions, you see. So, yeah. Anyway, what's the last movie you saw, Dan? Because you see so many movies.
I'm currently going through the Exorcist movies again. So I watched the first Exorcist again the other night. I hadn't seen it in quite a while, but it's in one of my favorite films of all time. And even though I've seen it dozens and dozens of times, that is a film that just gets better with each rewatch because you see something in the background or you see a subliminal image that you've not seen before. Or it's talk about a masterpiece of a horror film.
It's outstanding. It's actually, that is my all-time favorite horror movie. So
please convince Russell to watch Exorcist 3. He won't believe me that
it's really good.
Oh, you finally did.
Exorcist 3 is very good. And in fact, I was actually going to raise this question. Name me a trilogy or series where one of the movies is so horribly out of sync with the other two, meaning like The Exorcist is outstanding. Exorcist 3 is Exorcist 3 is not to the Exorcist level, but it's still very good. Exorcist 2 is an absolute car crash disaster.
It is. I actually think Exorcist 3 is a damn good movie, especially in its assembled Legion cut, which doesn't have the forced exorcism at the end that William Peter Blatty had to put at the end. The original director's cut of Legion is really, really good. But yeah, Exorcist 2, I've got that one coming up quite soon, and I'm really not looking forward to rewatching that movie again.
I mean,
though I like the score. I love the Ennio Morricone score, but besides that, yeesh.
James Earl Jones is in it. I like him as a person.
He is.
So, I mean, you're stretching it for things that you like. Chad, how about you? What's the last movie you saw? Was it The Exorcist 2?
It was not. People are going nuts over Iron Lung, and I was unfamiliar with really anything about Iron Lung. I guess it's a popular YouTuber is starring in it. He does a lot of these like indie horror games, and he does Five Nights at Freddy's and things like that. Markiplier, if I'm saying that incorrectly,
yes,
it's because I was going to say I'm 41. I don't know these things, but It was fine. It's a really low budget sci-fi horror movie. It's a bit too long. It's about 2 hours, but with a little better audio mixing, it could have been really good. A big premise is like you hear over the intercom these voices, but it's mixed inconsistently, and so it's a little tough to hear sometimes.
All right. And the last movie I saw was K-pop Demon Hunters. So
Sweet.
my son had been asking to see this one for a while. I didn't really know what it was or what the age demographic was, and
What do you mean you don't know what it was? It's in the title.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if we were getting where on the spectrum demon hunting is and stuff like that. It's pretty safe for your kids, though. So yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. It was better than I thought. The music's getting played pretty hard here in the last 48 hours. So if you ask me how I feel about it in a month, I might start to feel differently. But I mean, right now, the music was fun. It was good, and it surpassed my expectations. And I think it was a craze back in fall, maybe when it came out. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say it lives up to the hype. It was good. I noticed it got nominated for an Oscar for Best Animated Feature.
Got nominated for 2 Oscars. Yep. It will win both of them as well, I think. I think it will win Best Animated Feature and Best Original Song. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, as long as stuff like Golden or This Is what it sounds like it's played instead of Soda Pop, you'll probably keep your sanity. Soda Pop, yeah, that drives me a little nuts.
I didn't care for that one. That's actually, my son was even kind of going through the songs. He's like, did you like that one? Did you like that one? It's like, yeah. And then he got to Soda Pop and he's like, did you like Soda Pop? And I was like, I did not. He goes, what? You didn't like that one? I was like, I liked all the other ones. Let's go back and focus on that because I don't want to hurt your feelings or anything like that. He's like, but why don't you? I'm like, I don't know how to describe to you the pain that I lived through from the early 2000s, late 90s boy band craze of like, it's just, it's a good question. It's like, it's just so sticky and sweet. And like, it seems disingenuous. It's a hard thing to explain to somebody who's young. Like, why do you not like that? It's like, that's such a simple, innocent question. It's like,
trauma, son. Generational trauma.
It's just like, I lived through some stuff, man. I've seen some things. I mean,
let me introduce you to LFO.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Anyway, let's go from that kind of music, from boy bands and K-pop to a whole different kind of thing here. Chad, what movie are we watching today that does not involve race cars?
Yeah, speaking of trauma, though, we are going to be visiting the very musical-oriented Whiplash from 2014.
All right, Whiplash stars Miles Teller, J.K. Simmons, Paul Reiser, and Melissa Benoist. I never know how to say her name. I like her. She's great, but is it Benoist?
It's great journalism there. Yes.
Yes, it's Benoist, yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if I needed to go more French with it, like Benoist. Yeah.
Benoist.
Yeah.
Benoist Blanc.
I can't pronounce your name, Melissa, but I find your performance is charming and I like your work. So I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your last name.
Yay,
anyway,
Supergirl.
Yes, she is Supergirl. Whiplash comes out in 2014. It's budgeted for only $3.3 million. It grosses $13 million domestically. This film is one of the lowest grossing movies ever to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Picture. It places in the box office way down 125th, coming in behind Labor Day and ahead of Winter's Tale. I don't know either of those movies. So nope. The number one movie that year did make a lot of money. It was American Sniper. It was also nominated for Best Picture that year as well. IMDb gives Whiplash an 8.5. A little bit lower than I was expecting. Rotten Tomatoes critics are loving this at 94%. Audience is right there with them at 94%. People love this movie. Critics love this movie. Academy Awards love this movie. They gave the Best Supporting Actor to J.K. Simmons. He went up against Ethan Hawke for Boyhood, by the way, and Ethan Hawke played a role over a course of 12 years in this movie versus 19 days of J.K. Simmons' work here on Whiplash. So 19 days of J.K. Simmons destroyed 12 years of Ethan Hawke's hard work. So for Best Supporting Actor in this one. So
math checks out.
Yeah. Boyhood's an outstanding movie. I recommend it too. Best Achievement in Film Editing, Tom Cross, and Best Achievement in Sound Mixing also get the Academy Awards. It's also nominated for Best Picture and Best Original Screenplay for Damien Chazelle there. Golden Globes winner for Best Supporting Actor, J.K. Simmons. BAFTA Award winner over in England there, the Best Supporting Actor, again, J.K. Simmons. Tom Cross on this film editing and the sound mixing again. There's going to be some reoccurring aspects to things that win here, by the way. So the British Society of Cinematographers nominee award, Cannes Film Festival nominee for the for Damien Chazelle as well for the director there. Critics' Choice Awards winner for Best Supporting Actor to J.K. Simmons. Critics' Choice Awards nominee for Best Picture, Screenplay and Editing, and a Saturn Award winner, which I don't know. What's that? No.
Why should it? It's just weird. Like,
no, I know.
I didn't know it was nominated for Saturn Awards. That's very odd.
It's very odd. Saturn Awards are usually for horror and science fiction and fantasy.
It is horror. Genre, yeah. We'll talk about that, but it's
definitely horror, yeah.
And so this is Chad's award show that this movie's creeping in on, but this was nominated for Best Independent Movie.
And the Fangoria Chainsaw Award.
These are the ones that Chad really cares about. Yes. So, but yeah, it was a Saturn Award nominee for Best Supporting Actor and Best Writing as well. MTV Movie Awards nominee 5 times over, didn't win, but Movie of the Year, Best Male Performance by Miles Teller, Best WTF Moment for Miles Teller, Best Villain for J.K. Simmons, and Best Musical Moment for Miles Teller. And J.K. Simmons won 47 awards for his role as Fletcher. So I'm not going to read all of them, but this is a big movie for J.K. Simmons. So now let's get into this one. Dan, had you seen Whiplash before? What was your background with it?
Many, many times. I remember seeing this it didn't come out until 2015 in this country. It came out very late 2014 for you guys because it came out during the awards season. And I was working at a radio station at that time, so I was trying to see everything. And I went into this film, Whiplash, not knowing a thing about it. I genuinely didn't know. I hadn't seen a trailer, I hadn't seen a poster. All I know is J.K. Simmons was getting good reviews for it. And I was completely knocked out by it. Like, utterly knocked out by it. It became my favourite film of the year, of 2015. It's currently my favourite film of this century. Like, I don't think it's been surpassed in that regard. It's also in my top 5, top 10 favourite films of all time. I think it's a damn near perfect film. And I like it. I like it a lot. It's also one of the few films I own the Steelbook for as well. I don't really collect Steelbooks, but I do own the Steelbook for that. And it's a beautiful thing. And
I'm going to ask you then, do you have a background in like kind of playing in a music ensemble like this? Or are you going in as
I do.
You do?
Yeah, I used to play viola in symphony orchestras. I never had a chair thrown at my head or anything like that, but it did get quite, things did quite intense at times when we were getting, close to concert time or whatever. And I also have sang in choirs as well, and that was also, pretty, could be pretty intense. Nothing like it is in this, but I did come into it with an absolute love of playing music as well as a love of film. So it was the perfect collision for me. Great music, really studying the art of trying to be the best you possibly can be, while also being a fantastic drama film with one hell of a villain. It's it's just everything I love basically squished into one 100-minute movie. I love it.
Yeah, and this thing's tight. It's not quite a tight 90 as Dustin and Chad champion on the show, but it is for an Oscar nominated movie. It is quick. Chad, how about you? Had you seen this movie before?
Clearly not. I alluded to it earlier. I told the guys when we came into this podcast, I thought Whiplash was a racing movie. I don't know what movie I'm presently confusing it with. I remember a racing movie that was well reviewed that isn't like F1 right now, but something in my brain stuck. I'm like, okay, race cars, great. And there were no race cars. There, as Dan pointed out to me earlier, there's a car racing that gets into a wreck. But I wasn't expecting any of this. And we've talked about it on the podcast before. I was involved in quite a bit musically. I was a French horn player. I played in various ensembles and ratings. We had French horn quartets. I was an all-state player as well as a county player. So I was heavily into the musical scene, especially during high school and a little bit of college. I've seen all of this minus the F bombs in my my time. So when I talk about trauma, like this movie, I texted Russell and said this movie is traumatic. Like it is me
Mhm.
living back through things that I did not enjoy, and I've actually had some of the conversations that Andrew has in this movie. I found it very realistic. Uh, it's a great movie. It's always a great movie that traumatizes me and forces me to relive and think, okay, yeah, I know these people, I know these emotions. This is realistic, and yeah, I'm glad there were no race cars. It probably wouldn't have been as good of a movie.
I think the movie from this general era that maybe I'm look up Rush. I think Rush is the one that I have a feeling might be.
It might be, yeah,
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
good movie. I'd love to cover that one too at some point. So, um, but is this a good trauma or a bad trauma, Chad? Like,
It's
is
a
this like
very bad trauma. Like it's not something that I like dredging up, and I have anxiety, and a lot of this dredges up all of that anxiety. Like I am the poor dude that's referred to as Elmer Fudd on the trombone, like somebody in your face, just yelling, "Are you or are you not out of tune?" Which is a real thing that happened to me, and he's like, "I was," and he's like, "He wasn't." But it's worse that he didn't know that he was or he wasn't.
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah,
Well, I hope this doesn't taint your experience of this movie. I did not come in with any musical background. I do play music. I enjoy it. I'm an enthusiastic music fan. I listen to tons of music. I go to all kinds of concerts, but I'm more of a rock and roll guy. I don't know how to read music. I can play guitar satisfactory to write my own stuff and to have a great time with it and to be able to do what I want to do. But I'm in no way a music virtuoso. I do not have a great deal of technical facility, and so I'm coming at this from a very different world than you guys. I didn't live it. Music to me is a very positive, um, individualistic thing that you can express yourself and your feelings, and it's not about your talent; it's about your feelings and your passion. Obviously, your craft does matter, but but what I do relate to this as I watch this one is I was in architecture school, and you will go into a program, and half of the people you go into with will not be there when you come out, and there are a lot of very smart people who go out of their way to make people feel very bad in the early years, and that's a culture I don't like. There's a degree of we have to get out the people who can't cut the mustard, and it's almost a planned making life hard on you, pushing people to make them stay up late in order to be able to get stuff done, to be very hard on what their work levels is, to bring them up from high school who know nothing to being able to perform at a high level. Now, it does not hurt in a public sense that, where these characters undergo huge um, public scrutiny in front of everybody else, and that's got to be killer. But it's a different kind of thing where you work for 3 months on something and then they tell you it's no good. So it's it hurts in a different kind of way. And so I do have some understanding of this world, even though it is a different animal. It is only secondary related to that. But I think Dan mentioned it, the drive to be great or not will be a big part of the conversation going forward. So I watched this movie at first, and uh, I watched it just because it was in one of those Oscar nominated movies, and I was jostled by it. I was like not quite expecting this experience. It went in all kinds of different directions I didn't expect it to go in, and we had a different and more interesting protagonist than I thought we would get in this kind of thing. Like I was kind of expecting a, hard music director, but we had a different kind of protagonist than I was expecting. So this movie went in a different direction. So I liked it, and when Chad picked it, um, and we came back to it, I got to say this movie gets better upon rewatch. I liked studying this movie, and I don't think this made my top 10 movies from the year that we recapped this one. I'm not sure how I quite missed it. I might have had it in my honorables mention, but as so many movies do, they grow on you. This one probably has bumped up as I've studied it here for the show with you guys. So I'm looking forward to talking about this one with you. So I'm coming at this one from a bit of a different angle, but I have seen this one before, and this is J.K. Simmons's finest work for sure. Although he is a perfect J. Jonah Jameson in Spider-Man.
I just watched the end of Burn After Reading. Like, as soon as I watch this movie, I have to go to that scene. It's one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into this one. You don't want this one spoiled. There's lots of things here that you're going to want to dig into and dive into and enjoy with us. So if you haven't seen Whiplash, go check it out. Do yourself a favor. It's not a long watch. We will be back after these messages.
Welcome to the All 80s Movies Podcast.
I'm Bill.
And I'm Jayson. And this is the podcast where we talk about the blockbusters, the flops, and everything in between from one of the freshest decades for movies, the 1980s. So whether you're a brain, a jock, a valley girl, or a Jedi, we've got some 80s classics for you.
Do these movies stand the test of time? Are we discovering something new? Is there an 80s movie we're finally watching for the first time?
Join us each week as we dive into the cinematic nostalgia that inspired and influenced a generation. From the hits to the cult classics, we'll discuss our earliest memories, favorite scenes, fun facts, and our not-so-favorite movie moments, too.
It's the All 80s Movies Podcast, now available on all major streaming platforms. Please subscribe and happy listening.
All right, we're back. And this is your final warning. Chad, for those who haven't seen Whiplash since 2014 or 2015, if you're over in England, will you refresh people's memories?
Whiplash is a movie that attempts to definitively answer the age-old question: is there anyone on Earth more psychotic than music majors? Andrew Neiman enrolls in Schaefer Conservatory, the best music school in the nation. Overhearing his practice, the prestigious conductor, Terence Fletcher, asks him to play rudiments, but leaves unimpressed. Later, Fletcher indeed recruits Andrew to perform in his ensemble as a backup to chord drummer Carl Tanner. Fletcher is a cruel taskmaster, bringing members of the ensemble to tears over being out of tune, and begins to mistreat Andrew, repeatedly slapping and berating him. Andrew, however, takes this as the world's most unhealthy challenge and practices obsessively. He does try a sense of normalcy by asking a young woman named Nicole out, but he discards her as he believes spending time with her would hold him back from greatness. Really, that's kind of an attitude I see in trumpet players, not drummers, but I guess drummers are there too. Andrew wins the chord drummer role, but blows it by forgetting his sticks and getting in a car wreck prior to a performance. However, he makes the performance bloodied and is unable to keep up. Fletcher tells him he's done, and Neiman attacks him on stage. He is then expelled and works with an attorney to get Fletcher fired for mental abuse. Months later, Neiman runs into Fletcher at a jazz club where they share a drink, and Fletcher invites Neiman to play for his jazz ensemble. As Admiral Akbar might say, it's a trap, and Fletcher starts the night off with a song that Andrew doesn't know, embarrassing him. Andrew takes control of the night and launches into Caravan, and the band follows him, forcing Fletcher's hand. Neiman takes an extended solo, bleeding and sweating, while Fletcher nods in approval before cueing the final chord.
All right. So, Dan, let's walk through this one. This movie is an intense movie, and I think you queued it up right off the bat. This movie lives on the line between how much is too much when pushing somebody for their improvement.
Mm-hmm. When the film first came out, there's a critic over here, very good critic called Mark Kermode, and he basically said this is a war movie. It's a war between two battling minds about what should be done. He called it Full Metal Hi Hat, which is a gag I really wish I'd thought of. But it's just, yeah. There are many films about people trying to be the best at what they possibly can be, but I think to me this gets down to the real psychological harm that can cause, and the internal, war that one will fight in themselves to be the best. I've never had to go through that personally, but I know people who have, whether it's in the arts or whether it's in whatever career they're aspiring to do. And seeing this guy just be broken down, just completely destroyed by the thing that he loves the most is absolutely heartbreaking. Although you say that he's an interesting protagonist, I actually don't think Andrew is a good protagonist. I think he's quite a selfish, spoiled, quite a nasty character in his own right. He's just so completely overshadowed by J.K. Simmons' monster of a music teacher. And I think it's interesting that you've got two very opposing personalities, but they're still on the back, the rather nastier side of likability. So you've got this one guy who wants the best, but he doesn't care who he pushes out the way for it. And then you've got this other guy who wants someone to be the best and will throw a chair at their heads to try and get them to be that. So it's this amazing war of attrition between two forces of nature with drumsticks in the middle of it. And there's blood, sweat, and tears all the way through it, usually on a snare drum at one time. It's all happening in...
I totally agree.
Just in that enclosed space of a drum kit. And it can just be a look that can either make or break someone's career, really their life. It's not a war film with guns and bullets, but it's a war film with
these are two people
with a lot of swearing and a lot of psychological trauma. As Chad says, it's
Andrew at the dinner table.
It's a difficult film to watch at times because it is really so bare and so raw. And it's just complete, just unflinching nature of what it's like to try and be the best that you possibly can be, and the demons that you'll battle, and the fight you're prepared to make to get
the family is just trying to build them up, but Andrew is just being completely dislikable, and he's pointing out their inadequacies and how he's going to be great even if it means he's drunk and dead at 34. Like that's how he just wants to burn out and be remembered at any cost versus being traditionally successful and not remembered. And his interaction with Nicole is heartbreaking because he can't look at her at first. He's looking at the floor, and they have that conversation and he says, "I think you're pretty. Let's go out for some pizza sometime." And then they have one date.
Yeah.
Where they talk about an imaginary jazz tune because the band didn't really exist. I didn't know till I looked that up, but he identifies that. And then it's, "You're holding me back. I will be thinking about drumming while I'm with you, and I can't be wasting that type of time. I want to be great." That is psychotic. And Fletcher, on the other hand, is very much if you can't help improve my greatness, I don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah.
Everyone is a tool to him. Everyone is something to add to his collection. He is determined to create the next Charlie Parker. He wants to be responsible for the next piece of greatness and almost kind of glom onto it. It's war film is, I didn't think of it in that respect, but that was kind of how I felt. At the end, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted of both of them fighting and just the war of wills between the two of them.
It's interesting you say that. I find Andrew's character, he's super arrogant. There's no doubt about that, as he does condescend to the people around him. But what's underneath that youthful hubris that he has is something I do admire greatly. His desire to not just be good, not just be really good, but, I'm going to be the best. This is the kind of thing that Sidney Crosby sits there on the ice at all hours of the day, practicing hockey as a child all the time until he's up in the leagues one day. And he's amazing. And the only way he got there is through repetitive practicing While other people are maybe doing other things. They're out roller skating, they're out, reading books or playing video games and mixing it up and becoming more rounded individuals. That singularity, that dedication you have is absolutely inspiring. And again, I'm coming from a world of perhaps art or architecture. The people who really change the world, unfortunately, they tend to be really lousy family people. They tend to be grossly deficient as just general human beings. I'm not saying they're all mean people, but they're not rounded people because they're so great in something. It has come at a sacrifice. And this movie shows you, if you are going to become that great at something, at what cost will this take you? And that is, I'd like to tell you, you don't have to be a jerk to be great, but there are some truths to some of that. I mean, he's saying that I don't have time for a good relationship. A healthy relationship is going to take enough out of me. So I realize now I'm all in. I'm locked and loaded. I see what it's going to take to make this now, and I don't have time for this anymore. And that's heartbreaking to watch from somebody from most of the population. Like you said, Chad, it seems insane, but his drive is really inspiring. Fletcher's means of pushing somebody are terrible and probably do go too far. But Andrew
probably.
He has somebody who commits suicide, largely, out of the stress of that. So that's too far. But, Andrew is one of the few people who were driven by it. Again, I had a studio teacher in first year. Half the class was completely gone by the time I got done. He was tough. He was notoriously tough. People really hated him. He was my favorite teacher by the time we got through there. He dropped a letter on my desk halfway through the first semester saying, your current grade, and here's a D. You're probably not going to be making it through this class. Anybody who got that letter in that didn't pass except for me. And I stopped doing other stuff. I mean, I dropped a class to take in summer. I refocused my stuff, any sports that I was doing, intramurals and stuff. It was a abrupt shake. You made it. It was hard to make it in. I was lucky to get in. I didn't have an outstanding high school transcript, but for me, it was a wake-up call that I needed of like, you only get one chance at this and you're about to blow it. And I didn't. I got through. I came back. I didn't get a great first semester score. I got a C to stay in the mix, and I got my act together though. And my grades went up in those studios, which are essential. So I would say the toughness in when Fletcher says one of the worst things you can ever do to somebody is tell somebody good job, because they accept mediocrity, and it's a nice thing to say, but it doesn't give them the feedback that they need to really get serious. So I don't know that I would have been able to push myself or to become as interested or as passionate about the things that I was in without being genuinely scared and your back's against the wall, like, kind of sweating bullets, being like, oh my gosh, what about, do I even belong here? Like, can I hang with the other people here? And, so there is something to be said for it brings it out in you. Having said that, everybody hated this teacher. So, I mean, he doesn't yell at people like Fletcher. He's very quiet, but I mean, he's the kind of guy who would just quietly look at it and say like, this needs more work. You need to do it again. This isn't up to where you need it to be. And I like in a martial arts sort of way, like, keep slapping the water, like you need to build your discipline kind of thing. So he's more of the Zen master, but boy, it sure can be frustrating to, so I don't know, I'm rambling a little bit here, but I would say I found that whole dynamic extremely compelling. And that's why I find Andrew really interesting. So few people want anything that bad that they're willing to do that. Now, is he arrogant? Yes. Is he rude? Yes. Do other people even understand him? No, they're not nice to him at the table. They say he's uneven and unbalanced, and they kind of put down what he's doing. His comebacks, to my mind, were to some degree of like, you're laughing at me now, but I'm on path to do something really great here, and you don't even have any appreciation for it. That's got to be frustrating for those who you love around you, to just kind of not get what you do. And that made it more powerful for me, because Andrew's doing this not for his dad, not for his mom or the people around him. Andrew's doing this because it really drives him. And that to me is just so neat and so powerful. So you're right. He's not a nice person, but there's something really amazing. People with that drive like Andrew has can truly change the world. And that's kind of what it takes. They're 1 in a million.
I've got to be honest, I've never really considered that, because I have always seen Andrew as quite a poisonous character, actually, especially with the way he talks to his, yes, his family doesn't, treat him well or anything, but the way he treats Nicole, I think, is absolutely awful, really awful. He's basically trying to make excuses for things that he knows that he's going to do, so he's just trying to make himself, almost trying to excuse himself to be the better person, but he's actually coming across as the worst person imaginable. By saying, you're going to resent me and I'm going to resent you. And it's like, give her a chance. You're just presuming that this is going to happen because it's in the way of what you want. You didn't want this in the first place. You've jumped in head first without thinking of the consequences. And he doesn't, I don't think he really cares about friends. I don't think he cares about family. All he cares about is his drumming. And I think for me, the most heartbreaking moment in the entire film is when he's being let go from Schaefer Academy, and he watches old home footage of him as a little kid playing the drums. And you can see, like, just on his face as a little kid, he's just loving what he's doing. And he's, he feels like he's king of the world. And it's got to the point where his love has become his burden. The thing that he cares most about is the thing that could actually be slowly driving him to an early grave. We see him hitting the drums that hard that he's bleeding all over the place and his hands being cut open. He's in a car crash and he gets up because all he cares about is getting to that next gig. He could, very easily die on his way to a gig, and I don't think it would really matter to him, because all he cares about is the drums. That's all he can think about. His room's plastered in pictures of Charlie Parker and people like that, and drum charts and all that, and nothing else in his life matters. So he's so... I think it's quite a sad tragedy, really, in some ways, that his life is just so devoted to this that he can't see any other value in life but that, which is, I think that is sad. I think he would have turned out the way he did whether Fletcher came into his life or not. I think he would have just been the same kind of, arrogant guy anyway. I just think Fletcher was the catalyst for the violence within him. I think up to that point he was just a very quiet guy who would just isolate himself in the music rooms and play these rhythms over and over again till his hands bled. But it wasn't until he had that chair thrown at him and he had, the chance of actually being in Fletcher's band, which kept being taken away from him, that volcano started to erupt inside him. And then my favorite, I know we're cutting to the end when you ask what our favorite scene is, but the scene where Fletcher says, "It's over," after he's been in the car crash and he's bleeding all over the drums and he's almost passed out. And he kicks that bass drum out of the way and just dives on Fletcher. I love that moment because it's so fast and it comes out of absolutely nowhere. But it is just this, it's like everything has been building up to this moment in his life. Somewhat the person that he's most scared of, but probably respects most on earth,
from somebody that can understand.
You're no good anymore.
You're right. Whenever
so everything he's been working towards since he was a little kid, playing those drums in front of his dad on the,
but it's fascinating.
Camcorder of it. No,
I watched this movie. Really
it's all amounted
late.
to
I just
nothing.
didn't have time for it. So
I think it's
yesterday
a
I
really
had the
sad
Fletcher conversation
moments in the
with
film. I think
my
the film
daughter. She was in
overall is a
Taekwondo
triumph,
tournament,
but I
and she
do think
came
that
away
moment is a
with
very, very
second
sad,
place in two
sad
of her,
emotional moment.
the three fields she was competing in.
The
Great,
effect that
and we were
that
super
gets me
proud
more
of
with
her
each
and
watch,
great
actually,
effort and everything else.
because you see the build
There
up to
are
it,
other kids like
and then
this
you
is
just
their
see
life.
this guy
They
just
do leadership courses.
brought
They're
down
in
to
it
a child
15
again.
hours a week.
You know,
Like they have their own
I think it's amazing.
routines, all this stuff. And I had the exact conversation with my daughter of, to be great at this is going to require something that you may not want to do. You may want to be a more well-rounded person. Which is fine. It's how whatever you want to do. And she looked at us and she said, I like to be pretty good, but I don't want to be, I'm not driven to be great. I'm like, that's fine. But we're telling you, if you want this world championship, we watched a 9-year-old do things that if you gave me 2 decades, I couldn't do. If you want to be on that level, it's going to require a different sort of commitment. She's like, you know what? I like getting awards, but if that's what it takes to be world champ, I'm not interested. I would rather have other activities and have friends and be able to spend time helping people outside of just this craft. And that was a cool conversation of like, okay, that's fine. That's where I've been most of my life. I've very rarely been the best at anything, but I'm happy being able to do multiple things well.
And I think you're right. I mean, this is a path of frustration. Dan put it. This is you guys are saying it's a tragedy. It's what drives him. He wouldn't be happy if he wasn't going for it. There are some people, Michael Jordan's another one of those people who just
Psychopath.
Yeah, exactly. He is driven. He's not a nice guy, actually. Like the commercials and Gatorade and Nike commercials all made Michael seem to be pretty nice, but he's not nice. He's really actually quite mean. He wants to win so badly, and he knows that he needs his teammates, so he pushes his teammates hard as his coach does. It's not a fun guy to be on a team with. He gets results, and clearly he was an outstanding, great at what he did. I think there's an interesting study there to be made. It's really amazing when you can find one of those geniuses. There aren't many of them sometimes where you can sit there and say like, oh, this person was great. This person did change the world, and they weren't a total jerk, and they did. Or maybe they were an okay dad or mom or something in the process of this. And like
David Robinson, Tim Duncan.
It happens. Yeah.
Name all the Spurs. Sidney Crosby, as much as the Nationals may hate him, seems to be a pretty nice guy. Like he's a pretty level-headed. You don't.
But
have
I mean,
Michael
he's
Jordan
a psychopath.
syndrome.
Like in terms of like he wants to be perfect. Like he wants to get out.
But you don't get the bad teammate stories or the psycho Sid stories or anything like that.
That's true.
It's Jordan and Bird are of a different legacy than people like Sidney Crosby, or even Ovechkin is like getting drunk in hot tubs with models on his off season.
You're right, and they're different. Again, you can sit there and make these comparisons. So clearly, this isn't the only path to greatness, but I think there's something really compelling, and I think it's interesting. Fletcher is bringing Andrew into his world. Andrew doesn't like Fletcher, but he's becoming more like Fletcher throughout the movie. In the beginning, we see Andrew wearing a white shirt. Fletcher is portrayed throughout this movie wearing a black, like all black, makes him very domineering. And at the end of this, we have Andrew in a black shirt. He's entering his world throughout this movie. And I don't think it's resolved. I think the ending is intentionally unresolved when you read what Damon Chazelle wanted this ending to be. Where do they go from here is up to you, the viewer. You see somebody, they have respect for each other, but it is a toxic, I don't know what I want to say, codependency, like where, I don't know what the term is, but like they're pushing each other. They're making each other better, but the whole thing is very unhealthy the way they're getting there to some degree.
Yeah, very unhealthy. I don't think they can stay together. At least in the ending in my head, like Andrews proved his point, and Fletcher's proved his point, and I think they have to go separate ways.
They will. I think you can only, I think that's his mentor at that point, and he's gotten what he needs from him. And I think Fletcher sees that too. He mentions at one point, I need to push somebody to see how, my job is to push somebody past where they think they can push themselves. Do you need to do this? Does the military, like when they're training, Marines, do they need to do that? I don't actually know the answer to that as a psychologist. Like, I don't know
That's
why.
life or death. This is Carnegie Hall music playing. It's I understand it from the Marines and Navy SEALs and things like that. When it's life and death and you are the top protector of your country, absolutely. When it is performing the best clarinet solo, no. Maybe Dan with his viola, though. You were
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't, because I wasn't a very good viola player, even though I loved it. I do think that question is it all worth it? Is really answered in the end by that single shot of the close up of J.K. Simmons' eyes, and I think he's smiling at him. I can't exactly tell, but I'm sure he's smiling at him, and I think that's all that Andrew was waiting for that entire running time of the film. Was that smile, was that look of approval, saying, "Okay, you've got it. You've got something." And then it just, it cuts to absolute silence, and he looks at Fletcher, and Fletcher looks at him, and it's a look without words, but it says absolutely everything that needs to be said in that moment. It's brilliant direction, actually, on the part of Chazelle, because it's, it's show don't tell. I don't think the ending is ambiguous as it as Chazelle himself makes out. I think it is very clear at that exact moment what Fletcher and Andrew are thinking, because there's such a good moment where he begins that drum solo into Caravan, and Fletcher says he is going to gouge his eyes out. He looks like he wants to kill him on stage then, but then he starts to twig what Andrew's doing, that he's taking control of the situation that Fletcher tried to, take off him in public, and he realizes, okay, he's pushing himself. Maybe it has gone the wrong way. Maybe I shouldn't have done this, but it's going. I'm starting to get my Charlie Parker, and it's that ending to me is one of the best endings to any film of the past 25 years. That to me is like the quintessential, get up and cheer ending. That final 8 minutes where they do the entire Caravan is just mesmerizing cinema to me. Absolutely mesmerizing. And so I do think that question of is it all worth it? You were talking just now about your daughter, Chad, and Taekwondo. It reminds me of a scene in Whiplash where they're just about to go on stage, but Fletcher sees a friend of his, I'm not sure, like an old acquaintance, and he's got a tiny little daughter, and she says she's just starting piano, and he says, when you're older, will you come and play in my band? And you're just thinking, no, that's like, will you come into my parlor, said the spider to the fly. That's like, don't get drawn into his web. You don't want this. He's all smiles, but actually he's going to torture you if you want to try and be good at this. Don't do it. That made me he clearly thinks very highly of himself as Andrew thinks of him.
In the Fletcher
so you've got these two massive egomaniacs.
In particular, if I don't like you, but you're
just
talented,
butting heads against each other for the entire movie, and it's only at one point where fists actually fly. The rest of the battle is done purely with words.
This teacher outside of
I love it.
a
I can talk about this film
concert
for hours.
and
I know I'm not making much
ensemble
sense,
type
but
setting,
I just love
completely
this
cool. And it was just like dealing with the little kids. That type class couldn't do anything for his greatness. So he treated them kind of equitably and just like a normal human being. Whereas with us, we received full on psychopath of just, I would rather,
film. Hmm.
that type of motivation does work on some people. Clearly, it to some extent worked on Andrew, but I would rather the Tony Dungies of the world that go about things without being in your face and demeaning you. And that doesn't motivate me. I have a natural flight response to that. I want to get away from those types of personalities. And the trauma I talk about is, yeah, I was good enough to be first chair in certain things. But I didn't like the constant scrutiny and the constant demeaning of who I was, not just as a player, but
Hmm.
as a person. And to the point where I stopped playing music after college and haven't really touched it because it reminds me of a time that I didn't enjoy. I love playing, but there's pain involved for me whenever I bring out my horn.
It's interesting you're bringing this up. J.K. Simmons said of the character,
Hmm.
there was a poet, and corresponds with an aspiring writer, where he said, if there's anything else that in life that you could possibly do that might make you happy, do that. And only if there's truly not should you be a poet, which is probably good advice for poetry because you don't make much money in it. But I mean, so that's really great advice. But Simmons said that Andrew would fall into this category. Chazelle said that Andrew would fall into that category. Sorry, Chazelle said that. But I think that's a really great moment there. And Chazelle himself, to be true to your point, Dan, said that
Yeah.
this movie was made to inspire a discussion, a debate. Are we happy for Andrew? Are we lamenting the loss of his humanity? I love the debate. Chazelle says, how far is going too far? How much is too much? Is it all worth it? It's a kind of restlessness that might be necessary and appropriate if you're if you're training Navy SEALs, to your point, Chad, like you said. But I know is it appropriate for music school? But it can be productive. There's no denying that. And from my own perspective, I'd rather say that I'd rather have a pretty girlfriend go to work than go to work with this guy and have my hands bleed all the time. I would have made a different choice, Chazelle said, from making the movie. But he also came out of that world where he, like you, Chad, had a abusive band director, and so he walked kind of your footsteps in creating and writing and making this movie. And
I can tell. I could tell there's musical background, and that was the question in the back of my head. Like, Dan says he enjoys this. I bet you have musical background of some kind of ensemble, because did this feel real to you? Like, did Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it definitely did. Definitely it did. The but I think with Fletcher above everything else being a teacher, he's also a bully. One of the first things he asks Andrew when he comes into the group is, so, tell me about your family. What does your dad do? What does your mom do? And he's not doing it because he wants to know more about Andrew. He's using it so he's got more arrows in his quiver to use as weapons against him when Andrew's at his lowest. And it doesn't take long for him to suddenly turn on Andrew because he's rushing or dragging, in that great scene. As it when I used to sing in a cathedral choir. Sorry, I've got a fox running around the back of my shed and it's driving me nuts. Beg your pardon. And we would do hundreds of hours of singing a week. Hundreds of hours in the Christmas week of Advent Sunday to Boxing Day, which is December 22nd, we would do over 100 hours of singing, including rehearsal. And I was not even a teenager yet. And our throats would be so sore and, and everything, and we'd be pushed to our absolute limits. It didn't get to the point where chairs were being thrown at us, but it certainly did get quite, it did get nasty at points, because we knew that we had to do this. We were getting up at 6 a.m. in the morning to do music practice, having our breakfast, and then going to the cathedral to do 2.5 hours, 3 hours of rehearsals before, a major service. So yeah, I can absolutely see the obsession in the writing of Chazelle's here. You can absolutely see that this comes from a place of absolute truth, even though I have seen plenty of videos online of jazz musicians and people watching scenes from Whiplash, and they're saying, oh no, this absolutely wouldn't happen. All I can say is, from my own experience, it does happen. And whether it doesn't have to be music, it can be any teacher, whether it's history, geography, physical education or whatever. You will always find that one teacher who thinks that they can push the boundaries because they think they know what they're doing better than others, when actually they're just causing irreparable harm to a little kid's psyche, and the fact that I think it's interesting that Fletcher gets away with the fact that he was inadvertently responsible for the suicide of that kid, which he blames on a car crash. He can't even bring himself to admit that it was his torment that caused the depression that caused Sean Casey to commit suicide.
Cut you off.
I think it's interesting
do it again.
that Chazelle doesn't
just out of
really address that again.
During marching
Andrew, when he goes for that drink in the jazz bar, he doesn't mention the fact that you lied to us. He killed himself. He didn't die in a car.
Blow his whistle and scream.
That's never referenced again. And I think to Andrew, that isn't really that important,
because kids were passing
it's just
out all over the place.
It's just
doing it out of spite,
just some Fletcher's methods just didn't work for this kid, but they are working for him, even though it's causing him a lot of psychological and physical harm.
Especially the dude with the sousaphone was not having a good time. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I do want to say, and it won't be any justification for your bad time, you played for, I think, a good band, right, Chad? Like your
the best in the state.
Yeah, there you go.
Consistently.
So this is not justification, but it's further adding to the conversation of, unfortunately, your path was it did lead to a very good product.
And what famous personalities do you share a personality profile type with?
I share. Yeah, my personality is an ENTJ. I'm totally.
It's a power high. That's what it is. It's just
I'm very driven, not off of people's
power.
feelings.
That's what it is.
So I'm in danger of becoming one of these people. Yes, I am the type of person who could be like Steve Jobs or Thanos. So,
yes,
I mean,
my wife and I are the helpers. We are the people that have empathy and just are saddened by people like you.
Yeah. Well, I didn't remember. It wasn't me who was your band director, even though
although you're just like, the results were justified. You were really
I'm not
good.
saying they're justified. So if it makes you feel in any way, shape, or form better, you were good. You're objectively good. So,
right. Yeah.
I did like the scene where someone's like, isn't music subjective? Can you actually tell if anybody's good or not? And I just love this big blank stare. Yes, you can. So I do want to mention though that this movie didn't get funding. He couldn't get it off the ground. Damien Chazelle turned this into a short film. It went to Sundance in 2013, and the short film ended up winning the short film jury award. And that's how this movie got made. Even at that point, we're dealing with a $3.3 million budget. I'm surprised you were able to get J.K. Simmons into this movie at that point, but and Miles.
What he's saying was it was worth it. There you go.
I did not jump at this movie right away, knowing that Miles Teller was attached. At that point, he hadn't done a lot. I had seen him in Footloose, and I had seen movies that came afterwards prior to coming to this movie. So, I was thinking of him like the kid from Divergent or Fantastic Four or.
That's not helpful.
No. I mean, I had sat there and I said, I don't like Miles Teller. This movie changed the way I felt about Miles Teller completely. So he was, I wasn't prepared for that level of acting from him. And as I mentioned before, I like J.K. Simmons, but I thought he was like a fun character actor. This was a really big change of, wow, both of them level up for how I perceive you as an actor after this movie.
Yeah. No, it's not helpful. Mhm.
Miles Teller did drumming from the time he was 15, so he's 25 when he shoots this movie. So he has 10 years of drumming, but he's like coming from a rock and roll background. He had to like learn to hold the sticks in a jazz drumming sort of way.
I think it's a real
And
shame
the
that
blood that you see on those
obviously
hands,
J.K.
those are his
Simmons
hands.
deserved all of
He
those
had to-
awards.
he
He
did
was
go
amazing best
as an actor, when at that hard
supporting
to try
performance
and
of the
be
year.
able to
But
do
I think
that.
it's a shame that
lot of
Miles
the drumming
Teller
in
didn't
this movie,
get
to your
more
point, Dan,
awards recognition.
is Miles.
Because I think he delivers
doing
just as good a
amazing
performance
stuff,
as J.K.
Which
Simmons
is incredible.
does.
That
I mean, yes,
impossible
J.K. Simmons
solo
does
that
all the
they
shouting
mimic
and everything,
at
but
the
Miles
end,
Teller's doing,
that's,
80%
like
of that
Neil
drumming.
Peart
He's
from
doing,
Rush type.
he's having to perform
I can
while
see Neil
playing,
doing it.
which isn't easy. It's, I think Miles Teller does a phenomenal job in this movie. Um, mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he even had a traumatic car crash when he was younger.
Method
know,
acting.
Yeah, he was late
Miles
for
Teller,
he was
yeah,
late for a
it's-
jazz competition and had a car crash. So you can see scars on his neck, as
Yeah.
from his actual real life crash
Yes,
here and
yeah.
there. So, they wanted Miles Teller for the
Yeah,
short
definitely.
video.
No, I think Miles Teller's fantastic in this.
Video,
I'm like
but
you.
they,
I hadn't seen too much of Miles
obviously
Teller before this. I think I'd seen him in
timing and all that
was
stuff.
it called Short
didn't
Term
work out,
12, I think
money,
it was.
etc. So
And he was in a
they didn't
move,
get, Miles
Project
Teller in
X,
there,
I
but
think it was called.
they
as
got
well,
him in
which
there
was
in the
like
regular one. So Johnny Simmons was
teen
cast
party movie or
in that
whatever it
one
was. So I hadn't seen him in
instead.
anything
So,
else.
have you seen the short?
This
film
is
version,
easily
Andrew,
Miles Teller's
or, Dan?
best performance. Mm. Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, yeah. I've seen the short. It's interesting watching the short because it feels so much more televisual. It feels so much more rushed. Not in terms of its production or anything, but just by the look of it. Whiplash to me, or when I think of Whiplash, I think of the color yellow. It's got this really strange yellow tint to it, whether it's the wood paneling of the music room or the spotlights of the stage on which the bands perform. I think certain films have I associate with colors, and Whiplash is definitely golden yellow, whereas the shorts looks much more like footage like we'd be filming right now. It's much more naturalistic lighting. Which does actually change the entire feel of the thing. Basically,
Yeah.
the short is the
And a lot of the
rushing
ensemble
while
were
you're
real
dragging
musicians.
sequence,
Miles
pretty
Teller
much.
is the only member of the film.
It's pretty much that in its
concert
entirety. It's
ensemble
about
who is
17
not
minutes
played by,
long,
like,
I
a
think.
full-out real musician.
And you
So
can
these
clearly
guys were
see that
actually
J.K.
all
Simmons is
doing their real
really
instruments.
getting
I
into
love the
character.
cuts
You can see
as
that
they
he
go
wants
around
to be
zooming
doing
in
this
on each member
role on a
of
more
their
not
to
permanent
capture the
basis, but like he
magic
really
of
wants
an
to expand this.
ensemble playing.
Johnny Simmons is
The
actually really
direction
good in
and
the shorts, but yeah,
cinematography of
it's
that
very clear
is
that
really,
the
really
the
good.
hole in that
I think it brings it to life.
the hole in that
when
is
that
Miles
song
Teller.
Whiplash first
If
came on,
if Miles Teller hadn't been
I
in
think
that, I don't think
film-wise,
Whiplash would have
we've
worked.
covered a movie called
'Cause
The
you
Red
needed
Shoes, where
that
it just takes you in this
battle
like
of
other
wits,
world,
that
like
Miles
all of a
Teller
sudden in the
brings
middle of a
to it
movie.
so well.
I wouldn't say this was
It's a
as
good short.
abrupt or surreal as that, but this movie, like, I think it's interesting. She says this movie's gold and yellow in tones. It is so like in the band rooms, but like when Miles is playing it in his own, practicing on himself, it's very blue, like harsh fluorescent type lighting. His room is cold. When he breaks up with Nicole, I mean, I think the warm spectrum is it's when Andrew connects to the music. And that's so.
And the camera never really settles for most of the movie. It's something I watch wrestling. You can criticize that or not, but one of the things in the past that they used to criticize in order to hide some of the wrestling is they do these camera cuts to make the move look more real, and that was a huge criticism. Here it's very to the beat. Like you get the 1, 2, 3, 4 snap, cut, and it's so frenetic and interesting. And they'll even just take these little tiny shots of like a instrument case or a cymbal or just an ordinary object, and it's fascinating.
That's a good point.
And
that is a good point.
Timing all this to the cymbal crashes for your cuts is so brilliant that I can definitely see. I didn't get a chance to watch this a second time, but when I do, I'm gonna try and make a more deliberate effort. Not every time the cinematography stands out to me, but this one, it was like right away you get that hallway shot that slowly tracks in, and that's probably the longest shot of the film.
This didn't even get a nomination for cinematography from the big boys.
That's a shame.
Like I don't see how it doesn't at least get a nomination from the cinematography standpoint, Oscars, BAFTAs, etc. So it did get a cinematographer's kind of nomination, as we read earlier. But going back to Simmons, it's interesting. Chazelle gave him the assignment. I want you to take it past where you think it would go to the normal limit and where that would be. I want to see a human being on screen. I don't want to see a human being on screen anymore. I want to see a monster, a gargoyle of an animal.
Mm-hmm.
And many of the band members had gone through like the path as you've described, Chad. And so it was like he did go there. But what's interesting is this isn't one of those method acting things where you then have to become this awful, terrible person to be on screen around afterwards. Simmons was as sweet as could be, according to everybody. And, between shots, he could turn it on and turn it off. I'm always impressed by that. I, some degree, understand method acting. Just like how can you really get into that being terrible and then turn it off and then not be? But I think that's actually even more impressive when you can turn on a dime like that. So
I can't remember the actor that related that famous story of what they said they don't believe in method acting. It's just called acting.
Yeah.
I mean, Gary.
I honestly think we said something like that in The Exorcist. I know you just said you saw The Exorcist. Friedkin really pushed people beyond the limits, like firing guns off in the stage and making people legitimately cold, hurting them. So he had these Fletcher-like tendencies of, we talked about it in a real life setting of, is it worth it? The Exorcist is outstanding. The people were not treated well. And I think it was the gentleman who played the father and that one, not Max von Sydow, the younger one. My name's
It's just called acting.
Thank you. Jason Miller,
Was it
Gary
Oldman?
I went to acting school. I know how to act.
Was it an interview?
I can act afraid and stuff like that. Like,
Stephen
I don't need you to fire a gun behind.
I'm sure he was
head.
saying something about.
And so it may not be the exact
Could
instance you're talking about, Chad, but I know we had the conversation
with
William Friedkin.
We've had a couple, because it always comes up when you think of people like Jared Leto, who's just doing degenerate stuff on set for no good reason.
Yeah. Well, Daniel Day-Lewis goes super down the well too when he goes into character and stuff. So
Johnny Depp is another one. Christian Bale. So
I don't know enough about it. I don't
Jason
know enough
Miller.
about it to say whether or not method acting is there or not. For me, I would have a hard time imagining playing some of those extreme roles and not at least, and then just turn to somebody like, yeah, hey, how'd it go this weekend? Did you shoot some golf this weekend? And like, oh yeah, did you shoot it? Are you under par? Good job on that. And then just turn around and be Fletcher 2 seconds later.
I don't know, man. I've had to represent a Nazi who dragged young women onto stage and beat them up in front of an audience and then demanded the audience cheer for me and vile things that we said. And in the moment, like we actually had an audience member once like hear the things we were saying, which was the most disturbing thing that will stay with me my entire life. My favorite example is when we say vile things and we say, "Are you with us?" And the audience member goes, "No." I'm like, that made us laugh a lot. But I mean, we'd go backstage and we would check on people immediately of like, "Hey, are you okay? You stop being that person." Now, I'm never going to win an Academy Award for any of the theater stuff, but it was fairly easy to return to me after an hour of just being, it was fun to be evil. It was fun to, it's not fun to say vile things, but it was fun to be a different person. So I don't know. It's different for every single person, but for me, it was just pretend. And whenever it's time to stop pretending, you just take that cloak off and off you go.
You know, it wasn't pretending. J.K. Simmons got 2 ribs cracked when he got tackled by Miles Turner. And that's it. Yeah.
There you go.
So. The film was shot in 20 days and nearly a day of it was dedicated to the Fletcher's office scene, and that was cut from the final of the movie. But Chazelle believed that built their chemistry for Teller and Simmons, which is so critical to making this movie work. It's interesting. This is not a big cast. When we get to our superlatives later, this movie, as you pointed out, Dan, really rides on 2 castings. If you don't get them right, this movie isn't going to work.
That's amazing. That's an Aragorn kicking the helmet and breaking his toe kind of bit of trivia. That is, I like that. I like that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much like an early Hitchcock film, like Rope or Rear Window, where it is really just 2 or 3 performances. In this case, just 2, just carrying the entire film. You know, the others, in much of the same way that Nicole is completely superfluous to Andrew's life, the rest of the cast are really superfluous to Teller and J.K. Simmons. It really is their show, and if one of them was out of place, you know, if one of them wasn't quite up to tempo, the whole thing would fall apart. So that must have been an incredibly difficult thing for Miles Teller. I mean, J.K. Simmons had done the short, and you know, we knew he could play, you know, nasty people when he played like J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man films. So to be up against that,
no,
for Miles Teller must have been incredibly intimidating. But he really does give as good as he gets, I think. I think Miles Teller can be quite. There's a bit where he's hitting the drums and he's bleeding all over the place, and he just punches a hole right through the middle of his snare drum, and it comes out of absolutely nowhere, and it's quite. You're like, oh, okay, he's got a violent temper to him as well, you know. So when he does dive at Fletcher on the stage and, as you say, broke 2 of J.K. Simmons' ribs, you know, you can absolutely believe that's like a hard tackle he's done. You know, he's up to the challenge of going against J.K. Simmons, who himself looks quite wiry in this film. Actually, he doesn't look big, you know, but he's got that imposing presence about him. You know, the shaved bald head, the tight shirts, you know, the complete black ensemble he's wearing, and you just know as soon as he walks in that the fact when he walks in and all the band put their head down,
there's a connection.
Obedient dogs, you know, they're just waiting to be given the command to take their instruments up and play. You know, he's the commander of his army.
Plot around the music, the music is more than
he's a really scary figure. He is very much Ali Ermey in Full Metal Jacket.
And
he really
I
is
just want to point out that
just the commander of
Chazelle's approach.
You do not want to cross paths with this
I'm
guy.
not a jazz expert to be able to tell you what songs are playing. I enjoyed hearing it, but it was brought alive through the direction and through this movie. Again, this isn't my comfort zone where I listen to music, but it really came alive through this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen Babylon, and I have to say that felt a little bit too indulgent for me. But his other 2, the the big ones with Whiplash and La La Land. Obviously, there's the big connection with the music. I didn't recognize the jazz tunes. I was in and around the jazz setting. Those were new ones to me. Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, with Damien Chazelle, before he did Whiplash, he has a writing credit on a film. I think it's 2011 called Grand Piano, and it's pretty much like the film Speed, but set at a piano, where Elijah Wood has to keep playing in a concert hall, keeps playing the piano, or someone's going to be shot.
It's in the name. If you're going to title your
it's
film
pretty much
Babylon,
that scenario.
it makes
and Damien
sense
Chazelle had a writing credit on that as well.
I love Tim Cloverfield.
So I think it's
Lane.
music
The
is
Last
very much a
Exorcist
part
I
of
do, less so.
Chazelle's
I wish-
kind of forte. He also had a hand in writing 10 Cloverfield Lane.
The final
There's quite a
scene
big
is
thing
9
about
minutes.
music
I think
in
you
that film
pointed
as well
out,
with
like of just
John Goodman character.
the drum performance
So,
is outstanding.
yeah,
and
music
the way
is
the
definitely
movie
something
ends
that
there, and that is
sparks
the closing scene is, I guess,
Chazelle when it comes to.
reminiscent of
I actually haven't seen Babylon.
Andrew's hero Buddy Rich. Buddy
I
Rich
do want
has
to
a
see it
famous
because I
Impossible
love
drum solo,
both Whiplash
as
and
it's
La La
known.
Land, but I haven't
and
heard.
Frank Sinatra
I have heard it's a
concert
very indulgent.
and Dominican Republic.
indulgent movie.
He showed even.
But I
in the
guess if you
60s that
made
he
something
was
like
the greatest
Whiplash
of
and
all
La La
time by
Land, I guess
playing
you're allowed to
through
be
a
a
heart
bit
attack,
indulgent.
before going to a hospital through his performance.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
we talk about Psycho and Drive and greatness. There's some of. the
Oh, I didn't
influence
realize you had a
that's
writing credit on
driving
that.
this behind there. I wish I were more in touch with the music to be able to bring the stories like we have for the direction and the acting here, but I can only assume it goes to that level as well.
The one thing that threw me off, and I actually had to look it up, I have never seen a drummer's sheet music with the actual notes on it, because he's pointing out what's that, a dotted eighth note and things like that. I'm used to seeing more, you would probably make it akin to like tablature, where it would
Wow.
have the strikes and the fills and things like that, where the drummer would be responsible. But apparently that's a thing in jazz drumming. I was around the jazz band, but I never really looked at their charts. So that was one thing that I guess is accurate, but threw me off initially.
All right. What do you guys say we hand out some awards?
Love to.
Dan,
Mm-hmm.
I think I might know where this is going, but who is your MVP of Whiplash? Oh.
Okay. Let's do it. The editor. I think the editing, especially in the final scene with Caravan, is just so phenomenal, because it could have just need to be just a static shot of the stage, and every so often you'd see a cut between Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons, but you've got the camera panning across the drum kits. You've got scenes where the camera will suddenly flip 180 as the next bar comes in. It's brilliantly. It reminds me of very much like Baby Driver with Edgar Wright, where the
Tom
music
Cross
is edited,
getting
where the
your
film is
pick.
edited
Chad,
in
who's
the
your
beats, the
MVP?
music.
I like
And
the
it's like the
answer
film is
better
being
than mine.
conducted
Like,
by the
it's
editing.
smarter
of the film.
answer, and you're right. That
And I
drum
think
solo,
I'm so
Russell
glad
and
that
I
the
went
film
to
won
AC
the best editing
DC
Oscar,
together,
because it
my daughter,
absolutely
that's
deserved
like
it, as
her
well as
band that she picked
sound
is-
mixing.
for
But I
whatever
think the
reason,
editing
that's
in
her
that
band.
film
She's not-
makes it
That's
so
what she
exciting.
picked. And
How the
Angus
idea
Young
of
does,
watching someone playing a
man,
drum
like
solo for 8 minutes could be
17-minute
extremely
guitar
tedious.
solo. In fact, he's
But
in his
the
70s. but
but
by
it's
the
edited
end,
in
most
such a
of the
way that it's
audience
just
was
so
kind of
exciting
lost.
and
We're
so
just like,
dynamic
yeah,
and so.
can we
I've
please move
never
on with
seen
the
a
rest of the
musical
show so we
performance,
can hear some
even within
tunes?
the musical
There
genre,
wasn't. We didn't have the
actually
flashing
executed like that.
cuts and things like
I
that to
think
make it
I think the
interesting.
editing is
So
absolutely
cool.
the
My MVP though was
MVP
J.K.
of
Simmons.
Whiplash.
I'm gonna go simple. Pretty much everything J.K. Simmons is, and I'm probably gonna pick him for because J.K. Simmons is the man, even when he represents an M&M I cannot eat.
J.K. Simmons is my pick as well. Yeah, he is great. I didn't realize it until this movie that like he is that awesome. Like this movie like kind of elevated a lot of other smaller performances. But yeah, um, I want to say he's sneakily maybe he is right behind Gary Oldman for my favorite Commissioner Gordon. Like he did the Justice League Commissioner Gordon, and while there's things wrong with that movie that I didn't love as much or whatever, but I mean, I really liked his Commissioner Gordon. I wish he got to do it more. So I'm sad we didn't get. Yeah, I wanted to see him be Commissioner Gordon more.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like you get to be in Spider-Man and Batman? Like that's so cool. Like those are like my favorite two superheroes.
With
So
great power comes great responsibility.
well, best supporting actor, Dan.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
He needed more screen time, but he is good. Oh, those pictures of him behind the scenes where he's in the gym he looks absolutely terrifying. He looks like a monster. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's weird because he got the supporting actor Oscar, but I do think Miles Teller is the supporting actor
Yeah.
in the film where he's the
I
lead
love
actor.
that.
I think it is, as we were saying earlier, it is really just a two-man show. So it is really the choice between J.K. Simmons and Miles Teller. But J.K. Simmons' performance is so big, it's so screen dominating that Miles
right.
Teller just sort of has to.
Chad, how about you? Best
He
supporting.
is diminutive for most of the
this
time
is
compared
tough
to
because there just aren't
J.K.
many
Simmons, but only in
characters.
terms of character,
Yes, it's
not in
Melissa
terms of
Benoist.
performance. But
She really,
yeah, Miles
she
Teller.
has,
But
what, 10
I also
minutes of
really
screen
actually really
time?
like Paul
Less
Reiser
than.
as
Yes.
his dad.
She
I
serves
think he's
as
got some really great moments. That moment where he's throwing caravan at the end, and he's looking through the gap of the door, and he finally sees
I think
what his son's capable of, and he realizes, oh my god, why have I not seen this before? I think that's such a great moment, and that's another moment of completely wordless performance.
She didn't know the camera was going to stay on her during
it's just
that. And,
all around brilliant acting.
So she
all around
stayed in character, wrote it through. Like she didn't know she was going to be on screen as much as she was in that. And you're right, Chad. That's my pick as well. Melissa Benoist delivers a really good breakup scene in particular. She's obviously a total sweetheart before that too, so credit to her for that. But I mean, watching her kind of fight back the tears of like hearing like, I'm going to pull you down. Like, he's like, I know that. And in reality, it's a cruel scene, but like I said, Andrew's not lying. He's doing one of the most kind things in a way that he can do is like, if you follow me, I'm going to break your heart. And I now know that. And you're responsible for me to reach out in the first place. And it is one of those things of like, he has saved her either a 6-month or 8-month or whatever impossible relationship that will ultimately fail in the end. It hurts, but nothing he said was untrue, unfortunately. So powerful scene. That's my pick as well, Chad. We're stride for stride there. Hidden gem, Dan.
Yeah. See, it's hard to find a hidden gem in the
Yeah,
because it's such a
it's
small
indicative of
film
there's a
in
car
terms of
crash
cast and
in this
location.
movie, like
It's really
where
hard to find a
Whiplash
hidden
is
gem.
there. It is
Really,
the sudden
I think my
reaction
hidden
of,
gem would
like, I've
actually
entered this
be
musical world.
the
It is
title
the
track
name
of
of the
Whiplash.
song.
I think
The
that's a
title
damn
is
good piece of
so
music. And
means so
whenever I
much
watch the film, it gets stuck in my
to the
head
movie.
for days after. I
Yeah.
have the
Chad, how
record
about you?
of the
What's your
Justin
hidden
Kurzel,
gem?
Justin Kurzel,
The title
Justin
tricks
Hurwitz
people
soundtrack.
like me into thinking we're getting a
And
chorus
I
in
listen to
the
that very frequently. I'm
I
not a jazz
like
fan,
the JVC
but after watching Whiplash, I
band
did
at
end
the
up
very
buying some
end,
Dave
the
Brubeck and
bass
some
player,
Miles Davis
and he's
because I thought
situated
the
right
music
by the
that
drum
was
set, and he
written for
keeps
the film was
looking
great,
over
and
with
Whiplash
these.
especially is
And we've all had
really,
these in
really great
performances
tune.
where you look over and you're like, "What are you doing?" And he chimes in at times. He's like, "What are you doing,
Mhm.
man?" We've all had that, and especially if you've had a drummer go rogue on you, which I have had. You look over. I still play. I play a bass in a band, and our drummer will occasionally go rogue
Yeah.
and decide that they don't want to keep the beat anymore. They just want to do whatever the thing is in their head. And we all look over. What are you doing, man? So that dude's expressions were perfect.
All right. I've alluded to it. I thought the cinematography on this one was pretty awesome. I'm going to go, and granted, the editing helps as well, to your point, Dan, but I'm going to go with Sharon Meyer for my hidden gem here. And
What are you
I
doing?
like your pick of just the jazz music that we have here because it is a big part of the entree. So it is the sauce that makes this all come together. So, recast. If you had to recast somebody and put somebody else in their place, Dan, who's it going to be? Ooh. It is perfect. Think about it. You can go down the list. You can replace you can replace the third chair drummer behind him who keeps coming in and stuff like that. We allow you to chicken out and just to play the game. I'm about to chicken out.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen.
I
This is one of the
considered
few
him for
films
the.
I
I
genuinely
considered him
think
for my
is
hidden gem.
perfect.
Yeah. Oh.
No, I think everyone.
Yeah.
You see, I can't think of a single thing I would change because as Chad was alluding to, all of the reactions from the band members are great. You know, all the ones who are professionals
Chad,
that are either
how about you?
in the
Recast.
Schaefer Academy and they've all got their heads down.
I want a woman in the
that scene where he says
ensemble.
to that
Like,
guy that
it doesn't
he's not
matter
out of
the
tune,
instrument,
but he
I
thought he
would
was, and that's
like
even
a
worse.
woman added to
I think
this
that's
dynamic
that's
because I think
horrible.
it
That
gives
is that's
another
so evil.
Layer for
No, I
Fletcher's
genuinely
evil.
can't
Like,
think.
he is preying on this room full of men,
Yeah,
but to some degree,
Elmer
you're like,
Fudd.
okay,
I think
these are men that signed up for
no,
it.
I can't. I genuinely can't think of
There's
the thing I
just a
would change
different
about this movie.
reaction when you're seeing
Genuinely, maybe
a
just a
woman
bit
being
more screen
attacked
time
like that.
for
And if
Nicole,
he's
the
taking
character
that
of
out on a
Nicole.
woman, I think it
But
could
that's not a recast. That's
add
just
to it.
like
Maybe it pushes
just
him
a
way
bit
too far
more
over
of the
edge
character that
into
I
just
like. You know, because there's very few
absolute
characters in the film you can
irredeemable
actually
monster than
attach to on an emotional level
Russell's.
in a positive way.
Well, I understand his methods.
But no,
I like his results. Yeah.
I did not say that.
Yes, the first chair. Yep. Uh-huh. No. That was funny though. I enjoyed that part. He's like, "Yep, that's why."
All right. My recast, you're not going to like this, Dan. I'm coming after Paul Reiser. I know you complimented him on this. I'm thinking Bryan Cranston might be able to do this job really, really well.
Like Malcolm in the Middle, Hal,
Yeah.
or are
Yeah.
you talking
the greats are
Breaking
good.
Bad?
There is a part where he does chastise a woman because he says, "Okay, let's just see if you got this part because you look cute." And then she starts to play, and then he says, "And yes,
obviously Paul Reiser might physically look.
It's like, oh,
color if you want the genetic. Like,
yeah, I nearly
give me a
swore
guy
then.
with,
That,
you know,
that's he just doesn't care.
And about the right heights and stuff like that. There's a physical. Like, I believe that that's his dad, and Bryan Cranston doesn't look anything like Miles Teller. I just think he's a good actor. So.
Ooh. I was going to say, I've seen him playing a bad father before, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have that theater scene too with the which I totally understand, not eating the raisinets, eating around them, but he just goes.
See, I think Paul Reiser delivers the most devastating line in the entire movie when it's that when he's sat at the family dinner table, and he's saying, I'm going to be great.
They are literally.
I'm better than you, and clearly
there's
you
like
don't
some
know that.
caramel,
and then Paul Reiser
like
turns to his son and says, "Oh, have you heard from the Lincoln Academy?"
Because the caramel and the raisin.
Because he knows that that's what he really wants to hear from, and that's the
if
moment
you
where
dump those in the popcorn
Andrew
we're
walks
sharing,
out because
I
he's
am
like,
absolutely
"Okay, that was too far."
And
he knows that he's doing it. He looks at him, he glares at him
though.
when he
Like,
says it.
I
He
would
knows
put them in the
that that's going to hurt when he says that, and I think that's the most painful moment in the film because even his own dad doesn't believe him at that point.
Oh. That is an odd move.
But it's true, he doesn't.
That's not how you eat them typically. You just pull them out of the
What
box.
are raisinets? We don't have them here in the UK. What are raisinets?
Dan, you're one of the people I most think of, like when I say like loves movies. But now you said you don't like popcorn. I don't know.
That's fascinating.
Wow.
I was going to say that doesn't sound good to me.
This is going to be like the Real Genius, where his house is hit with a laser satellite.
We don't really have anything that you put in popcorn here. You just get a big.
I thought you were referring to
a
shed where he has like a secret Donkey Kong mine cart
plain popcorn
all the way down.
No, I don't eat popcorn in the first place. I don't eat popcorn anyway. I don't like popcorn.
Best shot, Dan.
No, I don't.
Ask it.
Which is weird because in here I have a popcorn stand for when my daughter's coming here, so I can have take a little popcorn off the little holder. But no, I'm not one for popcorn. That would be cool. I would love one of the popcorn guns from Killer Clowns, though. That would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, there's so many. There were so many good shots. As I alluded to one earlier, the one where Paul Reiser's looking through the door and he sees his son.
I love
the reaction of that.
I'm going to go with a really
and
simple one that
the
is
final
really
look of J.K. Simmons at the end of Miles Teller is great.
As simple as when they're placing
I
the
genuinely
instrument cases
can't
down in this
pinpoint
quick shot.
one
You just
great
get
moment
boom,
because I think
boom,
it's a film
boom, and then
full
they
of.
all open.
It's a film made up
You hear
of
that
great shots
wonderful
because of the
synchronized sound of
cinematography.
cases coming
But I am
open,
going to go for that
and it's
shot
just,
of Paul
if you
Reiser
played,
because I think that
sound just
basically encompasses the whole
nostalgia
film.
for everything.
Because yes,
So the
J.K.
sound
Simmons and
editing
Miles
and
Teller are
everything
war,
is
but it's
perfect.
it's also a dad who doesn't understand
Okay.
his son.
My best shot
And at that
has to be the
exact
opening shot.
moment,
This
you
movie
see
sucks you in
that
right
look
away.
of
The
disbelief on his
one-point
face, and you
perspective
think,
coming down.
"Oh,
at
now he
Miles
gets it."
Teller playing the drums, and I'm captivated immediately. Now, having said that, the end is a collection of good shots, like you said, Dan. I had a little bit of a hard time because my first thought was like, it's going to be the end, but then when I watched it, I was sitting there going like, what at the end am I picking? And at the end,
symbol with sweat or the eyes or
there's a lot happening at the end, whereas the beginning is a moment of singularity that's bringing you in down this 1-point perspective, dark corridor, blue light, kind of like. So I had an easier time being like, wow, that coming out of the darkness to him playing as you're beginning this movie, that to me stuck in my head. Like somehow I remembered that from the first time I had watched it. So that was my best shot. Best scene though. Dan, are you going for the final scene here? Or no, you said you're going for the attack scene.
Oh,
Yeah, this in with blood.
They're
Yeah,
sweating.
I was going to go for the attack
so-
scene, but then I've actually thought of another scene that I love more, and it's the montage of the three drummers in the band having to play as fast as they can, and they
I'm
just
glad you
get
brought
getting
that up
swapped
because
out.
I love
and
the comment that he says to him
and
later.
the drum kit's getting
I
more
only
and more
brought
covered in
the
blood.
third
And they're like,
drummer in
no, I'm
to
not.
push
As I said,
you.
I'm not going to swear, but you
And there
can
was
just
an
hear
hon-
him
like,
from the other
which
room
was-
where the other guys
I think
are,
that is,
and you can
honest
hear
moment.
him
And even as he
bawling
mentions
his
the other
head
kid
off at
dropped
them,
out to go to
and they're
pre-med,
swapping
like,
these.
he's like,
They're
how I like
having
is
to
like,
basically carousel.
he didn't have it.
Doing
Like,
this,
I mean, Fletcher,
these 400,
Fletcher
the
is
400
dishonest
notes,
that
aren't
he's
they, that they're
trapping
trying to
him in
get.
this moment, but he
And
lets
you can
through
just
a
see the
lot of
pain
honesty
on all
with
of their
who he is
faces.
and what he's doing.
But you can also
And
see the rising
I thought that was very
anger.
interesting.
You can
too,
see
with
that
Pete
vein,
Gates back
that
in
wobbly
scene
vein
we're
on
talking
J.K.
about.
Simmons' forehead.
Good writing.
Just
Well
going
tight.
absolutely crazy.
Chad, how about you?
Because he's just going
Best scene.
louder, faster,
I mean, that
faster.
whole
And it's
caravan
insane.
drum
It's
solo,
completely
it was
insane.
just-
And
it's one
it's
of
an
the most
amazing scene.
tense scenes I've seen in all of cinema, and I thought it was just masterfully shot for all the reasons that Dan's brought up.
I'd like to be different, but
Yeah.
that's also mine. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's where he takes control of the concert. It's a magical moment within the story, but it's as powerful as it is because of how it's filmed and how they shoot it. So that's my best scene. Best wardrobe or makeup moment, Dan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so good. Yeah. Best makeup moment. It's going to be the scene where he's been in the car crash and he's over the drums and he's bleeding from the forehead and his hands are completely cut to shreds, but he's still trying to play.
Yeah.
And you
Chad,
just
how
see
about
the
you?
blood just
That's
blood
wardrobe
and
or
sweat
makeup
just
moment?
pouring off
That's
him.
mine exactly. It's the makeup after the car
I can
crash,
like
and it just
at that moment, but also
it
just the
really
moment, the
lends
really
to the point
intense
of when he's trying
close-ups of
drumming,
like
thinking,
the
okay,
bloody
he's
marks on his
somehow going
palms.
to make it through,
And he
then
dips
just
the
starts seeing
his
it in the
swollen fist
exhaustion
into
and then the dropping of
ice,
the bloody
and you see the
stick
blood
and everything
swell
else.
into the water and things. Just
Great
all of
makeup
those
there.
really painfully intimate moments
I'm
of when
going
putting
with
the dressings on his hand
in
and
Miles Teller's wardrobe. We see
yeah,
him
just
losing
any
his
scene where
innocence.
Andy's bleeding. I think
The lighter
you know,
colors
just
he
because
wears
it's
at the
very
beginning of the
rare.
movie
So when you
to
do
the
see
dark
it, it
colors,
really
like
comes
Fletcher
across as
has at the
you
end.
can
It's a really
really
subtle
feel
transformation.
the damage
Might not
that this
pick up
kid's
on this in
doing to
another movie,
himself
but because
to,
we have such a
to be the
contained set
best.
of characters, I can pick up on this better than like if you give me a giant movie with like 15 people, I'm terrible at this. But you have forced me to focus on less here, and I've seen this before, so I picked up on that here this time, and I really appreciated it. But I do want to talk about there's the power of Fletcher having this very tight-fitting black shirt on. There's a degree of confidence. There's without the baggy clothing. They're form-fitting. You can see his movements, and you can see how he moves and carries his body. That carries through with his aggression, and you can almost see these muscular movements within his shirt because he's a wiry dude to begin with. And like you said, he's not actually a guy you'd be physically afraid to fight. He's actually kind of slender and stuff like that, but he's a force to be reckoned with because of how he carries himself in this movie. And this movie uses a lot of darkness behind him, and his head is almost like this floating, like yelling head. And again, the lighting and the black on him, I know it's a simple black T-shirt, and I'm spending a whole minute describing it, but it's really effective with how they use it.
He likes Steve Jobs.
I didn't say a mock turtleneck. Yeah. Steve Jobs just did that because he realized he was spending too long picking out clothes each day because he cared about it. So he just picked the same thing over and over again. So yeah, so he's like, I was losing too much time in my day. So
Unbelievable.
all right, change one thing. Could be hard for you, Dan. If you need to go second, we can, but we're gonna make you do it. One thing. Okay. No, that's why I prepared you for it. I knew it was this was going to be hard. You're gonna have to say something bad about one of your babies of one of your great
Just
films
pick the
here.
same
So,
thing. Yeah.
Chad, how about you? Is there anything you can change other than your personal band experiences?
I wish I could change those. No, what I would change here actually derives from my band experiences, and it's something I need more. I might have missed it, but I need a line to explain how we're able to get upswing.
Just say
here.
this is
It makes no
this
sense
is impossible.
to me.
This
that
really
they
is
don't
impossible
practice ahead of time.
because I can't.
Every ensemble, everything.
You're gonna
I've
have to come
ever
back to me. I'm gonna have to.
doesn't matter.
You're gonna have to come back to me.
These people
Sorry.
are trying to make it in front of
Yeah,
executives and
this
different
is tough. Yeah,
high-powered individuals. There's no way they're not going to practice
Yeah.
like an hour before. So the surprise betrayal doesn't make sense to somebody that's been in that environment. You are a complete lack of professional if you go up there and just try and wing it or say, I've got it. That doesn't happen in that environment. I need something saying, hey, here's our set list. And he just omits something and they say practice like an hour at home. I don't know. I need something to explain that to me.
Mm-hmm. Or saying like, here it is. We're not playing it, but here it is. And then everybody else knows that they're playing it and not him or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah. Or he can't make the practice, but he says it'll be okay because it's still whatever.
Yeah. I'm going to go with if I had to change one thing, I would like it's not total exposition, but like a clip of what Schaefer is. I didn't gather how great it was until he was talking to Nicole later when she's like, and why did you go to Schaefer? And he's just like, because it's the best musical academy in the country. And I think it could either have been done through discussion with Paul Reiser's character early on, or just a little fun. Like they're so good with the film work. I thought it would have been fun to unleash the music, the cinematographer, and the editor again to run through and just capture what it is we're dealing with. Because I, as a non-musical person, didn't fully grasp the stakes of what was at hand the first time through necessarily. I caught up to speed later. Dan, how about you?
it's really hard because the whole pacing of the film is so key to why it works. Because it's as tight as the snare drum. There's no wastage here. It's every scene is in there for a reason. I think they're exactly
the music in a little bit more.
Need to be.
Let the music breathe.
When I've done these before with you, and you've said, what things would you change? We've been talking about older films like Nightmare on Elm Street or Black Christmas or Tim Burton's Batman, and sometimes there's some dated special effects, or some odd makeup choices which have aged the film slightly. But because of the age of the film and because it's so low budget and there's nothing in regards, prosthetics or anything like that, there's very little that's going to age the film ever, because there's not a huge amount of technology in the film, so that's not going to age it. I think it's going to be a pretty
Right.
timeless
Well, then,
movie, to be honest. So I
best
can't
quote.
really think of anything that
Man,
I'd change.
A lot of stuff to choose
that
from
would
here.
actually
You may need to bleep yourself.
benefit.
But here we go.
Probably, I would always want more. Yeah, maybe more musical sequences then. But even then, I love the amount of music
Resonated.
that's in there, because in the end, I don't think it's
true.
really a film about music.
I really,
No, it's not true, you monster.
I think it's a film about.
I really
this
that
kid
one. That one I
who's
took
pushing
away. I was like,
himself to,
wow, that is
you
really
know, near
true.
breaking
Oh
point.
my goodness!
As
do
I said,
not
it could have been
parent your
about
child
history
like
or
that.
art or
Good
architecture
try,
or
good
whatever.
effort
It just
is
happens to be
always
set
a
in
good
musical.
thing. But good job means
I think
it's
I'm
good
going to have
enough.
to mulligan this one and say
But
I
there's a
genuinely
difference
can't
there.
think of a thing I would
I like to
change
see your
about it.
effort.
I'm sorry.
I
Genuinely.
mean, even
No.
my parent psychology
There were no
videos
more
will say,
harmful words
I
in
like how you
English language
tried,
than
good
the
effort.
words
I
good
saw you
job.
putting forth the focus
Because
there.
that's Terence Fletcher's
it
complete
doesn't mean like,
philosophy.
hey,
That's
your
what he's
results
based
are
its entire
flawless and I
career
don't
on.
have to work on this anymore. It's like, I see your hard work and I see how you're working hard. That's really great. I mean, that's a good praise. So, I mean, just saying good job is different. So,
Oh man. I hope at the end of my life to hear the phrase "well done." So,
Because to me, it's just
well, after you
to me,
subject me to making
yeah.
me watch,
I mean, to me, it's just
not only
whatever
Human
goes through
Centipede
Terence
3, but
head
Human Centipede
whenever he's
2,
doing
and
something.
putting
this
me
is
in
your
with
fault.
I'm not going to say good job.
No, there's
I'm
no
just trying
fault.
to make these
Never
people the
mind.
best they can be.
Dan, for 4 out of
We shouldn't
5
cover
years, he has
decades.
put my dealer's choice as the very last
Mhm.
ranked movie of the year. And I told him and I warned him if he continues to do this, that he is getting Human Centipede 3.
Hate picks. Yeah, I get a hate pick.
And he
I
did.
thought about tagging you in for this one, Dan.
All you had to do was rank it. All you had to do was rank it 49th out
Not
of
even
50.
Dan will cover it with you.
All you had to do is 49 out of 50. This is your own hubris. This is your Fletcher moment.
We only cover 50 movies a year. They're mostly really good. And when you go out of your way to please
Grave
Dustin
of the
and hand him-
Fireflies is not a 50th movie.
What is it?
Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh, they won't be 50.
Oh my God.
No, it won't be.
Only because I
It's
picked
hard
Human
though.
Centipede.
Boy, that movie tears your heart open. I mean, it's good, Chad. It's just it'll move up throughout the year. There's no doubt about it. All right. Chad, best quote of the movie.
Dan took mine.
Oh,
even
thank you.
though it's like
Thank
the
you
most
so much
wrong
for not
quote,
doing
and
that.
I'm very disturbed that Russell's like, oh, that's a good life philosophy. I am terrified now. So I will go with, for the record, Metz wasn't our team. You were, Erickson, but he didn't know, and that's bad enough.
That was also really great. I like that one too. Dan also took mine. I was also going to use there's no two words in the English language more harmful than a good job to me. I did like when Terence Fletcher said, I was there to push people beyond what was expected of them. I believe
Oh
that's
my
an
God, that
absolute
movie is
necessity.
yeah, it does.
That line makes me think. That line makes me carry forward to somebody like Bobby Knight, who ultimately was fired for going too far, abusing his players, throwing chairs on courts, yelling and shouting, and yet people signed up to be pushed like that. I remember Jason Tatum had a very mild-mannered, like you said, Tony Dungy type of coach with Brad Stevens for many years, and he said, I want to be pushed. I need you to push me like that. And Brad Stevens isn't going to yell. He's not going to scream, and that's not who he is. So they hired Joe Mazzulla, and that is a very intense man. I mean, he does Taekwondo, and he gets up in the morning and he's like super focused and like watches like nature documentaries to see the killer instinct of animals, to see how he can apply it. Like every single thing he's doing, he's trying to go into how he can win a basketball game out of it. And so the reason I'm saying that is there are people who will respond to that and there are people who won't. And that notion of pushing somebody harder than they knew they could, it made me think, had I not been pushed like that, would I have made it through? Would I not have gotten that wake-up call in architecture school? I don't know. It's a different universe. Maybe I would have just got a better grade in my first semester and had more fun. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. But that is a very interesting notion and where this movie lives. Where is the line between how much is enough and how much is too much?
I want to point out to the listeners that Russell is in charge of our podcast, and these are the philosophies he's in. Infer what you will of how his co-hosts are treated, but this is his aspirations for us.
I didn't say. I just want to be clear. I am not Fletcher, nor do I totally like say like I would do this. Like that's not what I would do. So I'm not. I don't think that I would be a Fletcher person.
Oh, there have been many behind the scenes. That was not a 5-star episode. Do it again.
Yeah. There've been some that I wanted to try again, but no. That's only human. No, it's all right. All right, well, none of the ones that Dan's been on. You're always a great guest, Dan, so we appreciate you here. Let's bring this. We did one once, Black Hawk Down. We did the whole episode and didn't hit record. Yeah. Yep. I looked down. I was like, oh no. Oh no.
I was just about to say I'm not that available to redo episodes.
Yeah. Black Hawk Down for the first year of the show, Black Hawk Down for whatever reason was like our #1 downloaded episode for a long time. It was, and then later on.
But the thing I love doing about this podcast, especially, is that because it's all improvised, you know, we do have a sort of plan, but it is off the cuff. I think if you're going to do it again, you're going to remember what you've said, so it's going to be there's not going to be that sense of off the cuff, off the top of your head remarks. And I think that's what makes this podcast so great, is that you just talk as it comes to you. But if you happen to redo it again, you're just going to say, okay, well that works. I'm going to have to remember that, and then oh no, I forgot to say that the last time.
So
Anyway, so that must be
Dan,
gutting.
I think that we've come full circle. We want to hear on a 5-star scale. What are you giving this movie on a 5-star scale with half-star intervals?
Yeah,
I love it. And I should mention this. Dan's come on here and with some of his favorite movies, we have like a top 100 of him. We call him in just like we know what he wants. And he's gone and taken movies that he really loves. And I've been amazed at the discipline to give him 4.5, and they're in your top 100. I'm sitting there going like, Chados gets on me.
Just about to say that. Hey, look, let's have a snowball fight.
Get anything below a 4.5. But yeah.
No, I'd say it's about a 2.5, 3 maybe. No, it's a 5-star movie. Of course it's a 5-star movie. It's one of my absolute favourite films of all time.
Oh, really? Oh.
Sign me up for that. That would be fun. Yeah,
right,
if a movie has an attractive redhead or a good chuckle, Russell's like, here's 5 stars. He's just, if I have picked it, nope, worst movie of the year. I went 4.5. I think this is amazing. I think it's traumatic. I really enjoyed it, and I really hate it.
When you ask what would you change, what casting would you change?
That's what a good movie
don't ask me to do that. God forbid you ever ask me to do a Jaws episode. I'll be really stuck.
How that trap for Andrew is laid out and how it played out, it just doesn't.
I'll absolutely take Jaws 3D. It's one of my least favorite films of all time. I'll absolutely talk about Jaws 3D.
I was going to say it was going to be my change one thing going into the movie, but then I forgot how important it was that's where he takes control of the band. I was like, well, I can't cut that. But that's actually an interesting point, Chad, because I also wouldn't. I was like, yeah, I don't want anything to do with Fletcher again. I don't want to.
I can see him playing. I can see him playing to prove. I just can't see him not practicing that song or not practicing beforehand with the stakes involved. So that's the only. Go ahead, Dan. Mm-hmm.
No.
10 seconds. I mean, do drumming in a hallway. I'm like, this is either the weirdest opening for a future NASCAR, Indy, F1, whatever, or I am just way, way wrong. And I just assume, because that's ask my wife, I am often wrong. So I just assume I'm in a state of wrong.
Okay.
So can I just ask Chad
No,
a
about
question? Because
halfway
you said
through
you
when he was
didn't
throwing a
think
chair.
you didn't know what you were
I'm
getting
like,
into
"Oh,
with this.
We're
You thought it was
really
going to be
just
about a
not
car
going to get
crash
to
or
these
whatever.
race cars.
How long did it take you before you realised, first of all, that it wasn't going to be that kind of film?
like you, Chad.
And how long did it take you to
this
get
movie
acclimatized
is
to
really
thinking,
well made. There's almost
okay,
nothing I
this
would
isn't
change
what I was
about it.
going into?
The casting's outstanding. It's really
Awesome.
improving upon second viewing. The only thing that's going to keep it out of the 5 is that it feels tense. Like it feels like somebody's like, putting you through, like, I don't want to be, like you said, Chad, nobody wants to be yelled at like that. Like, so
Yeah.
it will affect your senses as you watch it. It's hard. Like when we watched it, I kind of was like, Chad picked it. I was like, no, it's a good movie. I don't think I would have picked it because it was one of those things where it's just like, there's a difficult level that is to sit here and watch it. However, having said that, I had a lot of fun thinking about this movie deeper, and it made me appreciate it a whole lot more. So only just rewatchability of like saying like, this is something I'm going to pull out frequently is the only thing that's probably keeping it from going to the 5 level, because in terms of how it actually did everything, it checked all the right boxes. Like you said, Dan, it's just, Fletcher's not a character I want to cozy up to on an annual basis. So yeah. All right. Let's pick a movie for next time, Chad. What do you say?
Absolutely. We are here to make Dan jealous that he's not going to be on the next episode, but it is the new hotness, horror movie remakes. We're going to do the most classic of all horror movies. We are revisiting the modern remade versions of Universal monsters. So option number 1, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from 1994, when the brilliant but unorthodox scientist Dr. Victor Frankenstein rejects the artificial man that he has created. The creature escapes and later swears revenge. Option 2, Bram Stoker's Dracula from 1992. Centuries-old vampire Count Dracula comes to England to seduce his barrister Jonathan Harker's fiancée Mina Murray and wreak havoc in their foreign land.
Uh-oh.
Or option 3, The Wolfman, please don't pick this one, from 2010. Upon his return to his ancestral homeland, Dan knows what I'm talking about, an American man is bitten and subsequently cursed by a werewolf.
Well, I also have seen The Wolfman. I was in the theaters for that one, unfortunately. And I have seen Bram Stoker's Dracula, but I've not seen Mary Shelley's Frankenstein with De Niro. I'm curious to know more about that one. So let's do something I haven't seen here. Let's go with option number 1 there.
Yeah, that's the rare horror movie I haven't seen, so I'm looking
You
forward
haven't
to
seen
that
it?
one. I have not. No, check it off my bucket list.
Nice question. Oh gosh. That's one of the worst interview questions I've ever seen. Like, that's just terrible.
Somebody hadn't seen Manos, the Hands of
There's
Fate.
like George W. Bush, like where somebody just threw a shoe at him, and then right underneath that,
Could I give you a quick prelude to your review next week? Whenever it's going to be, sorry. Kenneth Branagh was doing press for Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And I think he was in, he was either in France or Spain.
They were ready to throw him out, and he was just like,
really
no, it's okay, it's
quite
okay.
bad reviews. It really divided the critics. And the first question that this interviewer said,
we had a
so,
lot of fun
Mr.
with you
Branagh,
on
how
this
does it feel
episode,
having
Dan?
made the
Thank you
worst
so much
film
for
ever
sharing
made?
Whiplash with
Yes,
all of
thank
us.
you.
So there you go. That's to
I love
prepare
it,
you
yeah.
for your thoughts of it.
And thank you, all the
it
Lords,
really
ladies, and
is.
knights of the Retro Movie Roundtable. We invite you to reach out to us. We want to hear from you. So subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a like on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at @movie_retro.
I am
Emails at
very jealous that you're going to be doing that.
yahoo.com. And producing and providing this podcast is fun but not free. So we invite you to support our show at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/Retro Movie Roundtable. All contributions are much appreciated and will go towards making the show better for you, the listeners. and we really appreciate those who do donate. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me back. It's
As
always a
always,
pleasure.
thank you
I'm
for
sorry
listening.
that I've
Be good
just
to each other. and
garbled for
watch
2
more
hours.
movies. Dan?
It's what I do. It's what I do.
You're hired.
Sorry. Sorry. As always, thank you for listening. Be good to each other and watch more movies. Chad?
It's pronounced Frankenstein.
Yay!